So if you clicked on this video, the premise of this video is rather simple, and it's just, something I kind of wanted to just talk about. I have an array of thoughts, I think, that have been bothering me for many years, and it largely has to do with the fact that I think the internet has kind of ruined everybody, has kind of ruined everything. And this is a feeling that I've had for a long time, but I feel like it's really coming to a head now, that I'm really able to see. I think the fact that nothing makes any sense anymore. The problem with the internet is it has shifted everything in a very specific direction towards content and what makes the best content to consume. And it's come down to basically junk food, right? It's usually the most, like, either the craziest thing you've ever seen or heard of, the most extreme viewpoint of something. And while that makes for good entertainment, it doesn't make for good discourse. It doesn't make for good, it doesn't make for, when you're influencing younger people, it doesn't build them up to be very well adjusted if, like, they think this is, like, a normal person is somebody that is way over the top and extreme and, has very, very strong opinions and doesn't back down from fights and, doesn't listen to the other person and is extremely stubborn. And I feel like this is just something that has evolved from two big things that maybe three things. Two of them kind of being the same thing. But I'll point to YouTube, and I will point to Twitter, especially. YouTube, obviously, it was always a fight to, like, get the most views. Obviously, that just kind of trended towards a very central concept of basically what I would describe as appealing to the lowest common denominator. Because the more people you can get to watch a video and the more people that can enjoy a video, the better. Or the better for you. The more money you're going to make off the video because the more views you're going to get. The more consumable it is. And that's kind of condensed itself down to what I would say is like the Mr. Beast style of video. It's something that's not really world-changing. It doesn't really make you think too much. It's just, again, what I would describe to be as like fast food. It's very fast-paced. It's very extreme and over the top. It moves at 1,000 miles an hour, and after you've watched it, give it like a couple days, you won't remember that video at all. You won't remember anything about it because it doesn't really like it's engaging again in the way that like McDonald's is engaging. It's not like I go to a 5-star restaurant and I have like a nice steak. Right? It's like, oh, I just want a fucking, Big Mac and fries, It's like that. It's like, I just want something that, like, my brain will be like, it will excite my brain, will stimulate the neurons, but it won't make, it won't leave any long-lasting impression. It won't make me think about anything. And because of this, I feel like that style of video is very much... in order to get a lot of views, you have to appeal to the lowest common denominator. And I say that, and it might sound kind of offensive, and it probably will be somewhat offensive to certain people. But I think generally, like, what I'm referring to, I think is like, it's kind of children. It's just bright lights, sound, positive sounds, positive vibes, people shouting, people yelling. But I don't know what we get out of any of that. And if you translate it to content that, like, is supposed to, is trying to, like, make a difference, is trying to, like, influence people and, like, inform people about certain things, if you take it over there, it's, like, it's not necessarily about, things that I would think are important, like facts, the truth. The truth doesn't matter at all. It's not about being factual or being the most truthful or being the most fair or the most honest. It's about being the most expressive, being the most over the top. And that doesn't lead to really good, strong influencers that are, like, positive influences. It leads to, loud personalities that are often very obnoxious, often don't really care about whether or not they're right or wrong, and will often step over people and on people and, clash with other people that just don't agree with them. And these people they rise to the top. It's the same thing that I feel like it happens in Twitch as well. I don't really like any of the people at the top of Twitch, any of the top streamers. I don't think a lot of them are very good people. Even though they like to throw around the term influencers, these people are just entertainers. They're not educators. They're not the best people to listen to, and yet they have some of the larger audiences on the internet. And I feel like before the internet, we used to have you had television for sure, but it felt like television and newspapers and all of these things were at least somewhat regulated. That there was some journalistic integrity. There were certain certain standards that people wanted to rise to because, hey, this is valuable. It's valuable. It's good for us if we have some self-respect, if we respect the idea of getting to the truth of a situation more so than just the clickbaity, let's just try to get people to click on the thing so we can make the most dollar amount. Now, certainly I think some people might argue with me that, it's always been like that. It's always been like that. And to an extent, I feel like that's kind of true, but I feel like it's so much worse now than it's ever been, because you now have the ability to, as an individual, just go out there and say whatever the hell you want, no holds barred. You're not held to any standard of integrity, and you can just build up an audience of. I mean, the worst thing about it, I think, is that a lot of them are building up audiences of young people, very influenceable young people who just don't know any better but to listen to some guy because oh well, he's kind of cute and he's a little funny and he's got a deep voice, and so I'm gonna listen to that guy no matter whatever he says. He's probably trustworthy, and they're not able to discern whether somebody should be respected, just because they're good looking or funny aren't good indicators to tell if somebody is worth trusting. It's just the idea that an entertainer, it makes sense to think of an entertainer in the same way as a I don't know, these are not the top tier of society, they're not the educators. They're not the people that have, gone through, training to educate people, to be able to educate people professionally. These are just random assholes on the internet that can just say whatever the hell they want. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a problem. And I don't think it feels to me I feel like the world is insane now. And me saying that, I don't even think 90% of people that watch streamers would even have thought of this before, would even have been oh yeah, maybe I actually shouldn't just listen to and believe whatever this random idiot asshole that couldn't I was gonna go somewhere. I was say, well, I couldn't get a regular job, so they decided to stream instead, but that's a little bit harsh, I suppose, because streaming is a very lucrative job, and it does take skill to be able to do it. If you have some influencer, some YouTuber, some streamer, and you're following them and you're watching them every single day, and you get all of your information and everything that you talk about, and all of your facts, all of your opinions from one person or even a series of people, it's tough. Be careful. I feel like the important thing is to just understand that these people are not they're not the types of people that a society would normally assign to be educators. Okay, these are comedians. entertainers. Imagine in like medieval times, you're listening, you're like, you're a fan of the court jester, and you're like, man, I wonder what he thinks about politics. I wonder what he thinks about social issues. And you go and you watch the court jester, and you're like, hey man, I'm really interested in your thoughts about the current economic state of the world. You know what I mean? It's just like that's what we're doing here, and it's insane. It's insane and stupid. I don't know. It bothers the hell out of me. Anyways, to go back to my other thing was Twitter. Twitter is kind of the same shtick, but Twitter's a little weird because Twitter doesn't have as much of an incentive to try to clickbait with your thoughts or opinions. But what Twitter is, when Twitter first came out, I remember it was like, I remember I was in high school. I was in high school and I remember watching a news story about like new app Twitter allows you to follow celebrities and tweet whatever the fuck you want. And I was watching this and I'm like, why would I want to be a part of that, right? Like, why would I want to join a social media? Like, I had Facebook, right? And Facebook, I'm friends with all my friends. I can see what they're posting, what they're doing. With Twitter, it was like, oh, you can post like just a small portion of text. And you can follow random celebrities and people you don't know. And like, I didn't understand what the hell the point of that was. I'm like, yeah, if I was like a gossip, or if I like really was into those like paparazzi magazines, I think I may be interested in Twitter. I'm like, oh, I can follow Robert Downey Jr. and see what he thinks on like see how his lunch was or whatever, But me being like a normal person in 2009 or 2010, whenever the fuck this was, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about these people. They're celebrities, but they're like, again, they are entertainers. They are not the people that, their lives may be somewhat interesting because they're rich and glamorous, and maybe there's something interesting there. But at the end of the day, I don't need to interact with them. I don't feel that desire to interact with celebrities or know what they're doing every step of the day. And I feel like, now we're in 2025. Can we all agree that, maybe celebrities are just not that interesting? Maybe celebrities don't have great opinions about anything. Maybe I don't give a shit which celebrity is endorsing who. Maybe I don't care about that because it's not important. Because, again, I watch these people in movies and in television because they're good actors. They're not information givers. And it feels like we're just replacing, educators and academics with people that aren't that. The people that are... I don't know. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Do you know what I mean, though? Like, these aren't the people we should be sitting down and listening to and caring about their shitty opinions. They are not more informed than anybody else in the world. But anyways, the whole thing about Twitter, like, it made me think, like, who's the type of person that is, like, interested in Twitter? And I always felt like it was... If Twitter is appealing to you if you are a celebrity, because then you can just like build your brand. You are a brand. You are your own brand, so you're building your brand. If you're a company, it's good for building your brand. Again, it's good for advertising, kind of being like, look how cool and funny we are and down to earth. It's good for advertising. The third one that I will say is what do you call like a YouTuber or Twitch streamer? Like Twitter is like best for them because this is like their entire promotion. They can get like noticed and make fans because this is like the only way. Like with acting, it's like, oh, I can go for an audition and some director can be like, oh, you're pretty good, and then you can get chosen for a role. You could be in a big movie. You don't have to go through Twitter. But if you're like an e-celeb, Twitter is like everything to you. It's such an important promotional tool. And so for a lot of those people, they think Twitter is like the most important, like the best thing ever. And you can tell by the way, like when I watch YouTubers, when I watch streamers, when I watch how they talk about Twitter, to them it's like it's this important tool and this fantastic thing that exists. And like, it was so good until Elon Musk ruined it. But what I'm here to say is Twitter was never good. Twitter was never good for a normal average person. Because if, like, the only appeal of it is to unhealthily, what do they call it? There, my cat's playing around. Like, when you have an unhealthy relationship with, like, a celebrity or a streamer or whatever, and you're, like, you don't actually know them personally, but you participate in stan culture and you go and defend them in arguments on the internet. So those people, Twitter is amazing because they can like make a big stink about, and they're just clamoring for attention, right? It's not a healthy thing to do in any regard. I don't think there's any like incentive as an average person to doing that, because like it's literally that. It's just trying to have that like really unhealthy relationship with a celebrity or whatever. It's the only thing you can get out of Twitter, unless you're trying to build something of your own brand. I should maybe mention like artists, I guess. Like artists get, is good. I'm not trying to like exhaust the list of people that it appeals to, but what I'm saying is it's just like overall the value that you're getting out of it is, I think, a net negative to the world, because it's just encouraging people to act on their worst impulses on average. Average people are just going to try to get attention. Like that's, otherwise you're just like sitting there reading celebrities share their opinions, and like what value are you getting out of that? You know what I mean? Like what the fuck value does Twitter have to an average person that's not trying to promote themselves? I don't know. But to kind of get to the point, I guess, it's just that it feels like now I have a lot of trouble on the internet. I have a lot of trouble watching anybody or reading anything, because I feel like every time it's like I read something and it's always the most extreme version of that opinion, right? If I'm on like Reddit, right, and I can like read through, it's like I can predict the replies, and I know the reply is going to be way over the top, so it's going to be like, I agree with this person, but in an extreme way, right? Where I disagree, and you're the worst fucking person on the planet, and you should off yourself, right? It's like, that's it. There's no room for people that are kind of like neutral, or just kind of normal and like have sort of nuanced takes on things. It's like you have to just kind of have an extremely way too over the top opinion about something, and it's I feel like it's ruining society. Whereas it used to be that I felt like, yeah, that's the way the internet is, and the internet's always been that way, but the average person can like knows better, and they see through all this bullshit, right? And they're like, yeah, everybody, these people are all clamoring for attention, but like, yeah, and I can make an informed decision, and I know what information to trust, and I know how to, we're all adults, and we're not all like all the 15-year-old kids that are screaming about K-pop and Dream or whatever. Like, all the adults in the room, they know how to deal with information. But now I don't feel that way anymore. Now it's really like depressing, because I feel like I've found out that I don't think anybody knows really anything. I feel like everybody relies on somebody to feed them information, and that's easily is something that's really easy to take advantage of. Because all you have to do, you just have to be a car salesman, you know? Car salesman, should you trust every car salesman if they have the ability to sell you something? What on earth? Are these the people that should be running society? Hey, this guy's really good at being able to sell me a car. That must mean he's really smart and capable of everything, of doing literally anything. But I don't know. It's like we're ignoring people that are actually informed about anything. We're ignoring experts. We're ignoring people that are experts of their field, academics, you know, people that know what they're talking about. And instead, we're listening to people that just like, you know, listening to people like Asmongold, right? Asmongold is just a guy who lives in filth. He lives in utter filth in his mom's basement. And you're like, this is the guy. This guy knows what he's talking about. This guy knows what he's talking about, man. I'm gonna listen to this guy. I don't know. I kind of wanted to avoid calling out at anybody in specific, but it's kind of hard not to, because I genuinely I don't like any of these people, and I don't know what to do. You know. Again, I felt like it wasn't as bad as it was. But every day, you know, I hear some news and it's... What the hell is wrong with you? You okay? Come on, are you alright? I hear some news and it's just... Like, I know, like, 90%... yeah, like 90% of the average person doesn't know fucking anything about this, right? But they're just gonna watch somebody, and they're just gonna get information from, you know, even Fox News, CBS, or whatever the fuck, is gonna feed them some information. They're just gonna buy into it, you know, and they're just gonna be like, okay, well, that person told me this, and I just believe that. I guess the point that I'm trying to make here, and I don't know if I eloquently described it, is just that the information landscape, I feel, is pretty fucked right now, and I don't know if it's fixable. I don't know if you can fix it, because I feel like the internet has just shifted to, instead of it being kind of the Wild West of information and people being kind of generally reasonable, and most of the people that are able to surf the web and, you know, make websites and make blogs are generally pretty educated, it's now extremely accessible to everybody. And part of the problem with that is that if you're looking for people that share any viewpoint that you have, it's very easy to just bubble yourself, and very easy to just be sent, especially with algorithms being the way that they are. Algorithms will just send you down a pipeline, and just you're just completely absorbed in in a specific world. But it's not truth. It's not truth that you're finding or you're seeking. Instead, it's what you want to believe is true. The worst things about society and the best things about society, what you want to think is true is what you're going to find on the internet, not what's actually true.